There comes a moment in everyone's life where you feel like you've been shattered. The weight of betrayal, the pain of loss, the fear of failure. It knocks the air out of you. You wonder if you'll ever stand tall again. But listen, being broken doesn't mean being finished. In fact, it's in those very moments of breaking that life is giving you the raw material to build the strongest version of yourself. Today, I want to show you how to turn your breaking point into your breakthrough. When life breaks you, the first instinct we all have is to resist. We fight it. We say, this isn't fair, this isn't supposed to happen, why me? And in that resistance, the pain only grows stronger, because what you resist persists. Think about it. The more you push against reality, the heavier it feels. The more you cling to how it should have been, the less you see what could be. But here's the truth, life breaking you is not the end. It's the beginning. The cracks that appear in your life, the moments when you feel everything is shattering, those are the very places where light can enter, where growth can begin. Every human being has faced moments that felt unbearable. A betrayal, a failure, a diagnosis, a financial collapse, a relationship ending. And in those moments, you feel as if the ground beneath you has disappeared. But here's what I want you to hear with every part of your soul. The breaking is not punishment, it is preparation. It's life reshaping you, chiseling away at who you thought you were, so you can become who you're meant to be. If you look back on your life, the times you grew the most weren't when things were easy. They weren't when everything went according to plan. They were the moments when life humbled you, when you were forced to dig deep into a part of yourself you didn't even know existed. You discovered courage when fear was all you had. You discovered resilience when giving up seemed like the only option. You discovered faith when logic gave you no answers. That's what breaking does. It exposes the strength you forgot you had. Now you might say, but it hurts too much. I can't take this. And I get it. Pain is real. It cuts, it burns, it feels endless. But pain is also the greatest sculptor of character. Think about a diamond. Do you know how it's formed? Pressure. Intense, relentless pressure. Think about steel. It's strengthened in the fire. Human beings are no different. The pain you're experiencing right now is not here to destroy you. It's here to refine you. And the moment you stop running from it, the moment you say, okay, I may not like this, but I will learn from it, you've already shifted from being powerless to being powerful. I've met people who've been through unspeakable tragedy, people who have lost everything, people who've been broken in ways that most would not survive. And yet, some of them came out stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more unstoppable than ever before. Why? Because they embraced the breaking. They stopped asking, why me? And started asking, what is this teaching me? What strength is this demanding I find within myself? That shift is everything. You see, life doesn't break you to leave you shattered. It breaks you to rebuild you. The problem is, most people want to skip that rebuilding. They want to go from pain straight to peace. But the rebuilding is where the magic happens. That's where you find out what you're really made of. That's where you let go of the version of yourself that could be broken, and you step into the version of yourself that can't be stopped. So instead of resisting the breaking, lean into it. Let it teach you. Let it reveal what's been hiding inside of you all along. Because the truth is, you're not broken. You're breaking open. You're being expanded. You're being prepared for the next level of your life. And when you embrace that, when you stop running from the pain and instead allow it to become your teacher, you'll look back one day and realize that what once felt like the end was actually the moment you were reborn. The breaking is not here to destroy you. The breaking is here to awaken you. When life breaks you, you always face a choice. It's not about what happened to you. Because the truth is, life will always deliver moments you didn't ask for, moments you never saw coming. The real question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to let the pain define you, or are you going to use it to design a new version of yourself? That's the crossroads every single one of us stands at when the world knocks us down. Most people, without even realizing it, slip into the role of the victim. They tell themselves, this happened to me and now I can't move forward. I lost my job, so my future is gone. My relationship ended, so I'll never find love again. I failed once, so I'll always be a failure. Do you hear the pattern in that? It's a story, and stories have power. But the power comes not from the events themselves, it comes from the meaning you give them. And when you adopt the story of the victim, you hand over your power. You allow the circumstance to control your destiny instead of using the circumstance as fuel for change. But the moment you decide to shift from being a victim to being a creator, everything changes. A creator doesn't deny the pain, doesn't pretend the breaking didn't happen. A creator takes the pieces of what's left and asks, what can I build with this? How can I take this brokenness and turn it into strength, into wisdom, into a foundation for a better future? That shift is where transformation begins. Think about it. The greatest breakthroughs in history, the most inspiring human beings you've ever heard of, they all came from people who chose not to remain victims. They took their tragedies, their failures, their setbacks, and they created something powerful out of them. They chose to stop letting life happen to them and started making life happen through them. I've seen people who were crushed by bankruptcy, who could have lived the rest of their lives blaming the economy, blaming their circumstances. But instead, they asked, what can I create from this? How can I rebuild smarter, stronger, wiser? And they ended up building businesses that impacted thousands of lives. I've seen people who lost loved ones and had every reason to shrink into despair, but they chose to create meaning out of their loss, to dedicate their lives to serving others, to spreading love where there was once pain. And through that choice, they didn't just heal themselves. They became a source of healing for others. The difference between a victim and a creator is not the size of the obstacle. It's the decision you make in the face of it. The victim says, this is the end. The creator says, this is the beginning of something new. The victim sees only what's been lost. The creator sees what can still be gained. And I want you to hear this. Creation starts with responsibility. Responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for what happened. It means taking ownership of what you do next. It means saying, I may not have chosen this pain, but I will choose my response. I will choose the meaning. I will choose what I build from here. That single decision is what separates those who stay broken from those who rise stronger. Because here's the truth. Life will not hand you the life you want. Life will hand you challenges, and those challenges will give you the raw material. You're the one who has to do the creating. And when you step into that role, when you stop waiting for things to get better and start making them better, you reclaim your power. You stop being at the mercy of life, and you start being the author of your life. So when life breaks you, don't just sit among the pieces. Pick them up. Create something new. Decide that the story you write will not be one of defeat, but one of rebirth. Decide that the very thing that tried to end you will be the very thing that fuels you. Your breaking point can become your building point, but only if you choose to be the creator of your own story. When life breaks you, one of the most powerful truths you must grasp is that you cannot always control what happens, but you can always control how you show up in the face of it. The events may not be in your hands, but your emotional state is. And your state, the way you manage your emotions, your focus, your energy, that is the force that determines whether you stay broken or rise. Think about this. Two people can go through the same exact situation, the same loss, the same failure, the same rejection, and one of them collapses under the weight of it, while the other uses it as a springboard to grow, to build, to create something extraordinary. What's the difference? It isn't luck, it isn't chance. It's the emotional state they choose to live in. Because the truth is, the meaning you attach to an event is born from the state you're in when you face it. If you live in fear, you'll see every obstacle as the end. If you live in anger, you'll see every challenge as something unfair, something to resent. If you live in despair, you'll see no way forward at all. But when you shift into courage, when you shift into gratitude, when you shift into determination, suddenly the same obstacle becomes a lesson, a stepping stone, a doorway to your next level. It's the same reality. The only difference is your state. Your emotions are not random. They're patterns. And most people, without realizing it, are living in patterns of fear, doubt, hesitation, or anger. They think those emotions are who they are when in fact, they're simply states they've conditioned themselves to return to. The problem is, when life breaks you, and you're already conditioned to live in fear, that fear multiplies. When you're conditioned to live in anger, that anger consumes you. But the moment you realize you can shift your state, you regain the steering wheel of your life. How do you do it? It starts with what you focus on. If you constantly focus on what's missing, what's wrong, what's broken, you'll feel powerless. But if you focus on what's still within your control, what's possible, what's worth fighting for, you'll feel empowered. Your focus creates your feelings, and your feelings create your actions. Change what you focus on, and you immediately change the quality of your experience. It also comes down to your physiology, the way you use your body. When you slump your shoulders, drop your head, breathe shallow, move slowly, Your body is literally sending signals to your brain that you're defeated. But the moment you stand tall, breathe deeply, move with energy, you're sending an entirely different message. I am here. I am strong. I am not done. Don't underestimate this. Your body is the fastest way to shift your state. You can't control the storm outside, but you can control how you show up inside of it. And then there's the language you use, both out loud and in your head. Words shape emotions. If you tell yourself, I'm destroyed, I'm hopeless, I'll never recover, your brain will believe it and your body will follow. But if you shift your language even slightly and say, this is painful, but it's temporary. This is hard, but it's shaping me. I may be down, but I'm not done. Suddenly your emotional state changes. Words create worlds. The story you tell yourself about what's happening determines whether you stay stuck in the breaking or rise into the breakthrough. You may not be able to stop life from knocking you down, but you can stop yourself from staying down. And the key is mastering your state. Because when you're in the right emotional state, courage replaces fear. Creativity replaces despair, and faith replaces doubt. And from that state, you take different actions, you see different possibilities, and you create different results. Life will always test you. It will always bring storms. But your emotional state is the anchor that determines whether those storms sink you or shape you. If you want to rise when life breaks you, master your state because the power you need is already within you. When life breaks you, the pain can feel unbearable. And if you don't attach that pain to something greater, it will eat you alive. Pain without meaning is just suffering. It feels endless. It feels cruel. It feels like life is punishing you. But the moment you decide to connect your struggle to a deeper purpose, everything changes. Purpose doesn't remove the pain, but it transforms it into fuel. It gives it direction. It makes it something you can endure because you know it's shaping you for something bigger than yourself. Think about the times in your life when you pushed through something that seemed impossible. Chances are you didn't do it just for yourself. You did it because of someone you loved, someone you wanted to protect, or a vision of the life you wanted to create. You found strength you didn't know you had because there was a reason behind the struggle. Purpose gives you a why, and when the why is strong enough, you can endure almost anyhow. When life breaks you, you need to anchor yourself to something that matters more than the pain. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's a dream you refuse to let die. Maybe it's a commitment to be an example for others, to show them what's possible even in the darkest moments. Whatever it is, purpose gives you a reason to keep moving when everything inside you wants to quit. Without it, you'll collapse under the weight of life's challenges. With it, you'll rise with a strength that even you can't explain. There are people who've gone through the most devastating losses imaginable, and yet they came out not only surviving but thriving. And when you look at why, it's always the same. They turned their pain into a mission. They asked themselves, how can I use this? How can I make this mean something beyond my suffering? That's why parents who've lost children have started foundations that have saved thousands of lives. That's why survivors of hardship have gone on to inspire millions. That's why ordinary people, when broken by life, sometimes rise into extraordinary leaders, because purpose took the pain and gave it a new meaning. You might not realize it in the middle of the storm, but your purpose can be born out of your breaking. The very thing that hurts you most might be the thing that prepares you to serve in the most powerful way. Maybe the struggle you're facing right now isn't just about you. Maybe it's about who you're becoming so you can impact others. Maybe your breaking is the training ground for your destiny. But here's the key: you have to choose to connect your pain to that greater purpose. It doesn't happen automatically. Most people get stuck asking, why is this happening to me? And they drown in the unfairness of it all. But if you can shift that question to, how is this shaping me? What can this give me that I can use to contribute, to grow, to serve? You immediately step out of the role of victim and into the role of someone on a mission. And when you're on a mission, nothing can stop you. Purpose gives you endurance. It gives you perspective. It allows you to see beyond the momentary pain to the long-term meaning. It's what makes someone get up at 5 a.m. to train their body when they're exhausted. It's what makes someone stay committed to building a business after 10 failures. It's what makes someone keep loving after heartbreak. Purpose is the fuel that makes the unbearable not only bearable but transformational. So when life breaks you, don't just focus on the pain. Connect it to a purpose. Ask yourself, what am I fighting for? Who am I fighting for? What future is worth this struggle? Because when you attach your pain to something greater, the breaking doesn't weaken you. It strengthens you. It gives you clarity. It gives you power. And it gives you a reason to rise again, no matter how many times you fall. Your pain will only control you if you leave it meaningless. But once you tie it to a purpose, your breaking becomes your building, and your suffering becomes your strength. When life breaks you, the greatest danger is not the pain itself, but what you decide to accept afterward. Too many people survive a hard season only to settle for less than what they're capable of, to lower their standards, to say, "I'll just get by. I'll just avoid more disappointment. I'll play it safe from now on." And the truth is, that mindset is another kind of death. Because when you lower your standards after being broken, you're telling life, "I'm okay with less than I deserve." But the very purpose of the breaking was to wake you up, not to keep you small. Think about it. Every great breakthrough begins with a moment where someone says, "Never again. Never again will I allow myself to tolerate this. Never again will I accept a life beneath my potential. Never again will I hand over my worth to people who don't see it. Never again will I stay where I don't grow, where I'm not valued, where I'm not alive." That decision, that raising of your standards, is what turns pain into power. We've all had moments where we said we wanted to change, but deep down we were still willing to accept less. We said we wanted health, but we tolerated excuses. We said we wanted love, but we tolerated disrespect. We said we wanted freedom, but we tolerated chains. And then life comes along and breaks us, not to destroy us, but to force us to confront the gap between what we desire and what we've been willing to accept. That breaking is an invitation to draw a line in the sand and say, "From this moment forward, my life will never be the same because I refuse to live by the standards that broke me." The power of raising your standards is that it doesn't just affect you. It changes the course of your entire life. When you decide you will no longer settle for toxic relationships, you attract healthier ones. When you decide you will no longer settle for mediocrity in your work, you push yourself into excellence. When you decide you will no longer settle for being at the mercy of circumstances, you become intentional, you become disciplined, you become unstoppable. Life may have broken you once, but you don't allow it to break you the same way again. Because now your standards have shifted. And here's the thing: life will keep testing you. It will keep bringing challenges, setbacks, and disappointments. But when your standards are higher, those challenges don't crush you. They refine you. Because now you have a new baseline, a new threshold for what you will and won't accept. You stop tolerating excuses. You stop tolerating environments that drain you. You stop tolerating habits that sabotage you. And every time you enforce that standard, you strengthen your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who cannot be broken the same way twice. It doesn't mean life will suddenly become easy. It means you'll no longer go back to the same patterns that kept you weak. And that is the ultimate gift of being broken. The chance to rise with new standards that shape a completely different future. Some of the most powerful people you've ever seen weren't the ones who had smooth, easy lives. They were the ones who faced devastation, who were shattered by failure, who were betrayed, who were crushed. And instead of lowering their standards, they raised them. They said, "I will demand more of myself, and I will demand more of life." And because of that, they turned their breaking point into the very foundation of their greatness. You have that same choice. You can let the breaking convince you to settle for less, or you can use it to set new rules for your life. Rules that refuse to tolerate what weakens you and insist on what strengthens you. So when life breaks you, don't just survive. Rise with new standards, because those very standards will be the foundation of the future you deserve. When life breaks you, it's easy to believe that the story is over, that the pain, the loss, or the setback has the final word. But the truth is, being broken is not the end. It's the beginning. Every crack, every wound, every scar is an invitation to rise stronger, to live bolder, to love deeper, and to demand more from yourself and from life. You are not defined by the moment you were shattered. You are defined by the decision you make afterward. You can embrace the breaking instead of resisting it. You can shift from being the victim of your story to being the creator of your future. You can master your state, refuse to drown in fear, and choose courage, gratitude, and determination. You can attach your pain to a purpose so powerful that it fuels you through the darkest nights. And you can raise your standards so high that nothing and no one can ever break you the same way again. Life will test you. It will shake you. It will try to convince you that you're finished. But every single time, you have the power to decide how the story ends. So don't let your breaking be your burial. Let it be your rebirth. Let it be the moment you decided to rise, to fight, to live with more passion, more strength, and more conviction than ever before. Because